your cinematic hero picks up two pistols, their real-world accuracy doesn't double. It plummets by over 75%. That signal of mastery is actually a tactical suicide note, a visual shorthand forged in the kinetic, stylized world of 1980s Hong Kong action cinema, and then absorbed whole into the American blockbuster machine. We have been conditioned to accept the visual grammar of gun fu, the perfectly symmetrical framing, the slow-motion choreography where a hero clears a room with a pistol in each hand, muzzle flashes firing in an alternating, almost musical rhythm. This spectacle is reinforced by sound design, which stitches together the impacts into an unbroken chain of success, convincing the ear that every projectile finds its target. The camera, critically, allows both weapons and the actor's eyes to occupy the same plane, bypassing the brutal reality of human physiology and weapon mechanics. In the real world, precision is singular. A shooter's cognitive and visual architecture allows them to align only one primary sight picture at any given moment. The second pistol, therefore, immediately degrades into a point-shooting tool, an index weapon with significantly reduced precision, measured in wide minutes of angle, especially beyond 7 to 10 meters. Furthermore, holding a weapon one-handed inherently compromises grip consistency, drastically worsening recoil recovery and follow-through compared to a stable two-handed posture. The kinetic impulse must be managed, and two separate single-hand grips double the potential for timing errors, flinching, and uncontrolled muzzle tracking. In any scenario that demands speed, be it a competitive range environment or a high-stakes firefight, two occupied hands become an overwhelming liability. They instantly impede crucial tasks like fast magazine changes, clearing weapon malfunctions, a process that often requires a dedicated reaction hand, and maintaining effective use of cover, since one hand is always dedicated to the secondary weapon. Modern small arms doctrine universally relegates a second pistol to a reserve role, intended for rapid transition when the primary runs dry or fails, never for simultaneous engagement. While historic exceptions did exist in eras when reloads were glacially slow, such as the days of cap-and-ball revolvers, where a shooter might carry 4 guns but fire them sequentially for reliable hits, the modern interpretation is pure fiction. The trope persists because it instantly communicates badass on screen and allows directors to dramatically compress both geography and action time. A credible substitute, the one utilized by professionals, involves one pistol driven quickly to the eye line with brisk cadence and seamless practiced magazine changes. If two weapons must appear, the only realistic tactic is the transition, discarding or holstering the empty primary and engaging the second gun, ensuring momentum is maintained without sacrificing accuracy. This leads us to the myth of the infinite magazine. The classical Western established the habit of skipping reloads, keeping cowboys constantly in motion. The gun ballets of the 1980s inherited this convenience, and countless modern blockbusters still cut around the moment a magazine capacity is reached. The screen favors unstoppable momentum. Continuous, loud, unceasing gunfire avoids continuity headaches, keeps the actor's face present in the frame, and preserves the manufactured tempo. Editors can extend a volley almost indefinitely, simply by intercutting different angles, while the sound design, a loud, even, consistent burst, convinces the audience's ear that ammunition is not a constraint. But in reality, every magazine is finite, typically holding 15 to 30 rounds for common service weapons. When those rounds are spent, the slide locks to the rear, a physical, audible, and visible stop sign. Sustained automatic fire, the minute-long rakes seen in film, is also mechanically impossible, as barrels rapidly overheat, degrading accuracy and risking catastrophic failure. Trained users carry multiple spare magazines and treat reloads as a planned, baked-in beat within the tactical sequence. Ignoring the physical constraint of ammunition erases the natural tension that defines real conflict. Real planning involves meticulous apportionment of rounds based on distance, cover available, and expected contact density. When the trope replaces this reality with an endless stream, characters never face the critical decision. Do I reload now, under cover? Or do I risk holding on for the current? Credible action films, such as Heat or John Wick, utilize the reload as choreography, an audible lockback, a clean magazine swap, a decisive chambering stroke, allowing scarcity and physical necessity to drive the decision-making process, earning credibility without slowing the pace. Another great cinematic lie is the power of the bullet to knock people off their feet. Mid-century westerns, aided by wire rigs, squibs, and theatrical slow motion, taught audiences that a pistol round carries the push of a cannon. The effect works because motion reads as brute force. The heavy, synthesized thump of the sound design, paired with a backward launch, provides immediate, satisfying confirmation. The shot mattered. Crucially, the eye forgives the physics for the sake of the story's legibility. However, the momentum transfer from a projectile, even a heavy .50 caliber round, to a human body is mathematically small. If a bullet could hurl an 80-kilogram adult several feet backward, the equal and opposite impulse, Newton's third law, would necessarily uproot the shooter as well, transforming standard recoil into a trip hazard, which plainly does not happen. Real hits cause people to stumble, drop their weight suddenly, or, depending on placement and physiology, often keep moving for a time. Training focuses relentlessly on shot placement and follow-up shots, not on the expectation of a cinematic knockback. While body armor might show a jolt or surprise might cause a momentary step backward, neither resembles the impossible airborne flips familiar from the screen. Filmmakers retain this expensive stunt because it instantly telegraphs impact across cultural lines. A realistic alternative, a sudden stumble, a faltering gait, or a delayed collapse, preserves clarity while respecting the laws of motion. The myth extends to firing long guns from the hip. Newsreels from the interwar period and doctrinal experiments with walking fire may have given the public an initial taste of hip-held machine guns, but the 1980s cemented a different, singular image. A hero pinwheeling a massive rifle or light machine gun from the hip with the purported precision of a weapon locked into a bench rest, often while maintaining a continuous stream of fire. This looks convincing because the actor's face remains visible, and the silhouette screams effortless control. The use of low recoil blanks and clever editing hide the true extent of dispersion, while impacts in the environment arrive perfectly on cue. The entire composition says power, without the visual interruption of a stock at the cheek. Without a shoulder mount and a primary sight picture, however, dispersion grows exponentially. The muzzle tracks wherever the shooter's torso sways, and recoil, even mild recoil, lifts the bore axis uncontrollably between shots. Point shooting has its limited place at contact range, measured in a few feet, but even there, it is merely a brief bridge to achieving a proper sighted mount. In confined spaces, an unshouldered rifle dramatically increases the risk of striking door frames, losing control of the muzzle, and, most importantly, wasting valuable ammunition. Modern carbine training emphasizes a fast, aggressive bring-up to the eye line, utilizing short, controlled pairs or bursts, followed by immediate sight recovery. Automatic fire, if available, is reserved for short, disciplined applications to manage heat and maintain a semblance of control. The cinematic version survives purely because it provides immediate visual access to the actor's expression and maintains the myth of effortless competency. Then there's the infamous rope cat. Western hangings and adventure escapes taught us the romantic ideal that a single, well-placed bullet can sever a taut hanging rope on demand, often performed dramatically from a moving horse or at a considerable distance. This moment is repeated in homages because it delivers tension and immediate release in a single compact beat. Editors make the stunt plausible with tight angles and a visible, clean separation. It is a simple, potent gesture, the projectile functioning simultaneously as judgment and rescue. The problem is that bullets do not slice, they puncture. The twisted fibers of a stressed, load-bearing rope distribute force and possess substantial rebound after localized damage, even if a .30 caliber projectile passes precisely through the center. Many structural fibers often remain intact, and under the load of a human body, the rope is far more likely to fray violently than to part cleanly. While larger calibers tear away more material, they still offer no guarantee of a decisive, clean break. Historically, when time permitted, blades and axes did this work. When forced by necessity, multiple close-range, deliberate shots at a very taut section might weaken the structural integrity enough for the tension of the weight to finish the job. The trope's persistence is purely functional. It is compact and legible. A realistic portrayal would show several deliberate shots at close range, visible fraying, and then the weighted line slowly, reluctantly giving way. Perhaps the most visually recognizable sign of cinematic inadequacy is turning the gun sideways. The sideways hold, or gangster lean, appeared sporadically in the 1960s, but was cemented into pop culture by early 1990s crime cinema and music videos, becoming immediate visual shorthand for swagger, inexperience, or criminal intent. The camera loves it because the posture keeps the muzzle and the actor's eyes in the same vertical plane for a tight, dramatic shot. Audiences readily accept it because the posture instantly reads as dangerous and confident, creating a feedback loop between screen depiction and real-world imitation. Mechanically, this posture is disastrous. The metallic sights, the tools necessary for accurate alignment, live on the top of the slide. Rotating the pistol 90 degrees instantly removes the intended sight picture. Worse, it fundamentally changes the physics of recoil return. With a full tilt, the muzzle begins to track laterally, sideways, rather than predictably up and down, destroying consistency from shot to shot. Professional training demands an upright, two-handed grip for maximum control and a brief extension to the eyeline for sight confirmation. Small fractional cants do appear in specific professional contexts, aligning a dominant eye around a large shield or peeking around hard cover, but these are purpose-driven, temporary, and usually restricted to contact distances, never a permanent, stylized tilt. Directors use the 90-degree pose because it is readable. A credible correction keeps the pistol upright, letting the audience catch a momentary flash of the front sight before the shot, reserving the exaggerated lean only for the rare moment when cover absolutely demands it. The sound and fury of cinematic ordnance demand huge muzzle fireballs and exploding impacts. Squibs and pyrotechnics ensured mid-century gunfights felt bigger, and today, digital muzzle flashes and composite sparks allow impact effects to be endlessly dialed up, completely divorcing the visuals from the constraints of real propellants and flash suppressants. Vehicles erupt into flames, walls shower impossible amounts of sparks, and even small pistols produce foot-long fire cones. This combination works because it establishes a compelling rhythm: bright flash, hard report, immediate visible reaction, telling the story cleanly. Viewers have been thoroughly trained by explosion-heavy action cinema to expect fire whenever metal is struck. This is fundamentally untrue. A bullet is not an explosive device. It carries kinetic energy that penetrates tissue or material, but it does not detonate. While gasoline is flammable, ignition requires the correct vapor-air mixture and an ignition source. Holes alone do not achieve this. Furthermore, most modern service loads utilize low-flash powder, and many weapons are equipped with muzzle devices designed to redirect or significantly reduce visible flame. Tactical users prioritize signature management. Large, visible flashes destroy crucial night vision, immediately identify the shooter's position, and lengthen the visual recovery time between shots. Realistic hits often yield bust, splinters, or a concrete spall rather than Hollywood fireworks. The tradition persists because it aids editors and reads instantaneously on a large screen. Fidelity demands brief, contained flashes, correct ejection rhythm, and realistic debris, maintaining kinetic energy without confusing a projectile for a demolition charge. The myth of the easily acquired fully automatic weapon is another convenient shortcut. Montage sequences from the 1980s onwards routinely show characters procuring exotic, select-fire weapons in minutes, with zero friction between desire and possession. These scenes invariably imply that long, continuous raking bursts are not only available, but are inherently accurate, equating continuous spray with professional competence. This is tidy storytelling. Bypassing bureaucracy keeps the thriller moving, and the continuous roar on the soundtrack successfully sells the sense of menace. The visual similarity between semi-automatic sporting rifles and their select-fire military counterparts helps this shortcut pass unnoticed on screen. In civilian life, genuine machine guns are extremely tightly regulated and exceptionally rare. Even in professional military or police hands, select-fire weapons are used almost exclusively in short, disciplined bursts to effectively balance barrel heat, ammunition conservation, and weapon control. Small, light platforms become incredibly difficult to keep on target during continuous automatic fire, and ammunition consumption is instantaneous. Training doctrine treats the automatic setting as a specialized tool for suppression and specific overwhelming tasks, not a default mode. Carbines run predominantly in semi-auto for precision. Most jurisdictions add multiple layers of restriction or outright prohibition beyond even the tightest federal frameworks. The trope endures simply because it compresses complexity. A credible substitute shows semi-auto cadence with frequent practiced reloads, and where select fire does appear, it involves disciplined bursts, reflecting realistic muscle movement and heat considerations. Finally, we address the myth that firing without aiming is nearly as good as using sights. Quick-draw westerns romanticized point shooting, and mid-century close-quarters training did indeed lean into instinctive fire at arm's length. Modern action cinema owes both of these strands for its habit of showing accurate hits delivered from the hip, over the shoulder, or while moving, without any clear sight picture. This style remains popular because it keeps the actor's face visible and makes the shooter look effortlessly skillful. Sound design and editing imply precision, even when the weapon's muzzle never aligns with the eyeline. This effect is economical. Less time spent showing sights means more time spent moving the plot forward. However, hit probability drops steeply without sight confirmation beyond very short distances. While index shooting, aligning the weapon using the index finger or body position, can deliver a fast first round at contact range, follow-up shots benefit instantly from even a brief flash sight picture or simple red dot acquisition. Unsupported positions drastically increase the arc of movement and widen shot dispersion. While retention positions exist for weapon protection during grappling distance, they are bridges, not destinations for accurate engagement. Current instruction overwhelmingly teaches a rapid, controlled presentation to eye level, emphasizing controlled cadence and accountability for every round. Filmmakers can easily maintain pace and face time by showing a brief rise to the sights between shots. The action does not slow, it simply reflects the physics of how accurate hits are actually made. The final lie is the assertion that guns have no recoil. Early blank technology already reduced on-camera movement compared to live ammunition, and today, many productions rely on sophisticated airsoft or CO2 props, augmented by digital effects, or even fully inert replicas, where muzzle flash and ejection are entirely synthetic. Some actors train hard to run a pistol extremely flat, contributing to the illusion that recoil simply disappears. The image is convincing because edits meticulously trim away the tiny interval where the muzzle lifts and returns. The soundscape is designed to give the impression of extreme violence, while the frame remains calm enough for the viewer to read the actor's expression. When a slide animation is added in post-production, the viewer's brain accepts the whole package as authentic. But recoil is the visible face of physical momentum and gas venting. Even with mild ammunition, the sights lift and must return. With true theatrical blanks, cycling often requires mechanical restrictors or specially tuned parts, and with inert props, there is no cycling impulse at all, forcing performers to artificially act the necessary motion. Training aims for a consistent grip and stance, so that recovery is fast and repeatable, not absent. Split times, the speed between shots, directly reflect that cycle. Press, lift, return, press. In rifles, compensators and gas systems help manage movement, but they do not erode physics. The screen language persists because it keeps faces clear and keeps the stunt environment safe. A more faithful approach maintains the same cutting rhythm, but shows that crucial slight lift and return, mirroring real ejection cadence and realistic timing between shots. The result looks dramatically better to trained eyes, while remaining perfectly legible to the general audience. But if Hollywood's depiction of small arms is fatally flawed, utilizing physics-defying stunts and impossible ammunition supplies to maintain narrative momentum, imagine the lies they tell about true heavy ordnance. Next time, we dissect the silent killer, the cinematic myth of the easily disarmable, high-yield nuclear briefcase. Don't miss that crucial transmission.